Hey, what's going on, guys? Joe G. You've seen the title of the video. Today, I'm gonna show you my top 3 exercises to help you get some bigger biceps. So I've been getting some questions about bigger biceps lately. I got about 4 questions in the last 2 weeks. So I figured I'd make a video to address it so you guys know what you should be doing in order to get bigger biceps, all right? So this video is aimed towards beginners, right? So that means if you've been lifting less than 6 months consistently, 6 to 12 months consistently, then this video is for you. If you're more advanced, you may have to work in other techniques like drop sets, supersets, and things like that in order to stimulate some growth. But for those of you who are just beginning, want to get your biceps right, this video is for you. Ladies, you too. There is nothing that completes a physique better than a full set of arms. I was in the grocery store the other day. It was lunchtime and I was at checkout, and this lady walked by and she was lean. I mean, she had the vein in her arms, and when you see that, and you know as a trainer and a bodybuilder, and you see that, that's just attractive. And I'm married, man, so don't get it twisted, but it's because it's a mental thing. I know what it takes to get there, and so you appreciate it. So I wanted to run over and talk to her, say, hey, what's going on? But obviously I had to get back to work, so I couldn't do that. But when you see it, it turns your head. All right, so pay attention. We're gonna jump right into it right now. Here we go. All right, so the first movement we're gonna get into is the barbell, standing barbell curl. This is the #1 movement. If I had to choose one out of all 3 of these movements for you to do by itself, this would be it. But you can add a lot more weight on the barbell in smaller increments to overload the muscle slowly to force some growth, right? Before we even begin that, we gotta decide what part of the bicep we wanna target, right? So there's 2 grips that you can use. You can use a close grip, which is gonna work the outer head of your bicep that you see here, because the bicep stands for 2, right? So we got the outer head, or if you have a wider grip, it's gonna target the inner head of your bicep, right? So that's what we wanna do, figure out first, right? I'm gonna show you both grips and how they attack the biceps. So right now, both of my hands are tight and close, right? So we're gonna go ahead and work on the outer head of the bicep, right? So hip drive, strict form, all the way up, squeeze at the top, and then controlling the weight down. So that's 1 rep working on the outer head of the bicep. So now I widen my grip, we're gonna target the inner head of the bicep. So it's the same thing, strict form, chest up, curl the weight up, squeeze at the top, and then slowly control and bring the weight back down, right? So that is how you wanna go ahead and target the inner and the outer head of the biceps, right? So now we decided which grip we're gonna take. Now the second thing I want you to pay attention to is how our wrist placement is, right? So this is a neutral wrist position. This is called pronation, and this is called supination. So as we do the barbell curl, our wrists are going to be locked in supination. It may not be important now, but as we go through the other ones, it'll become more apparent to you. So remember, we're locked with the barbell curl in supination. So this is gonna allow us to work on one angle of the biceps, all right? So now we're just gonna go strictly into form. So we're gonna go ahead and work on the outer head of the biceps. So we got our chest up, right? And we can take a staggered grip, 1 foot slightly in front of the other. And this will help minimize you bringing your lower back into the lift. So you keep your chest up, right? Tiny bit of hip drive, curl the weight up, squeeze, and bring it back down. Tiny bit of hip drive, curl the weight up, squeeze, slowly lower the weight back down. One more time, up, squeeze, slowly bring the weight back down, okay? So make sure when you're going ahead and do this exercise, you're thinking about and you're slowly progressing to get the muscle growth and stimulation that you want. All right, so that is the first exercise, standing barbell curl. We're gonna get over to the next exercise right now. Let's go. All right, ladies and gents, we are here, incline dumbbell alternating curl. That's what we're gonna work on here. So in doing that, what we're gonna do is set up the bench 45-degree angles. First things first, what you wanna do. All right, so once you get that set up, you can go ahead and grab your dumbbells in your arms, right? So now when we spoke about the standing barbell curl, we spoke about your wrist curl being locked, your wrists are being locked, and that was supination. So with this movement, we're going ahead and we're starting in neutral, right? So now our wrists are neutral, but we're coming into supination. And this is important because when you work the biceps, there's different angles and you want to stimulate each one to get different fibers of the muscle. So you want to sit back, the chair's about 45-degree angle, chest up, right? and you want to keep your arms and shoulders back. And then you want to slowly, from neutral, curl, turn into supination, and drag the weight up into your shoulder and squeeze. Supination, up to your shoulder, squeeze. Again, you start here at neutral, slowly bring the weight up, squeeze it at the top, and then you slowly return back from supination to neutral on each arm. Now, depending on how you feel and your style, you can go ahead and do these both arms at the same time, curl and supinate them, or I personally prefer to do one arm just so I can focus a little more on each contraction. I feel like if I do two arms, then I stop focusing on both. I start focusing on both and I get a little less contraction on each arm. So again, here with this movement, we're using gravity because we're leaning back, right? 45 degrees, gravity's pushing our arms down. So we're working a little bit harder. And then again, we're rotating the wrist from a neutral position into the supinated position in order to work one, the outer head, which is the outer head of the bicep we spoke about, and also what it helps work here is your brachioradialis, which is pretty much an extension of your forearm into the bicep, which helps turn the arm and the wrist up into supination. So that's what we're working on. So this is the second exercise, incline seated dumbbell curls, and you want to make sure you use these here to get different angles. Again, we went from supination, we went from neutral to supination on this one. All right, when we started on the standing barbell curl, we were just locked in supination. So now we just added a different element in the second exercise. And now we're gonna go ahead and I'm gonna show you one more and we'll tie this all in. So this is our last move. We're gonna do the standing reverse barbell curl. Now remember, from the first standing barbell curl, our wrist, right, started, we were in supination. We were locked in supination the whole time we did the movement. Then we moved on to the seated incline dumbbell curl, right? And we went from neutral to supination and we worked a different angle, right? So now we're going to go into the standing reverse barbell curl. And on this movement, our wrists are gonna remain pronated, okay? So now we're working on a different angle of the bicep, but we're still working on the outer head of the bicep and that brachioradialis. So you wanna set up with the weight. Now keep shoulder width apart. You can probably be inside if you wanted to. Now your grip, depending on what you want to work on, is still going to target the outer head of the bicep, whether it's close, narrow, or it's wide. It just depends on how comfortable you are in tolerating the stress on your wrist, okay? So me, I don't like a lot of stress on my wrists. My wrists and joints are small, so I'm gonna go a little wider on this one. And so you keep your shoulders back, chest up, shoulders back, just like every other movement we're doing with the biceps. And on this one, again, you don't want much hip drive, right, at all. You want to be strict, so you work on strictly developing them fibers in the biceps. So we're here, we're bringing the weight up, squeezing and holding at the top for a slight second, controlling the weight down. A lot of people don't realize that you break down more muscle in the negative portion of the movement. So right here, we're on the concentric or the positive portion of the movement. As I go back down, that is the negative or the eccentric portion of the movement. You break down more muscle, resisting the weight going back down to the starting position. So keep that in mind as you're going through this, right? So up, squeeze at the top, don't get lazy. Relax, bring the weight back down, nice and slow, and that's where you're getting the most of the growth. And what you want to do is make sure you squeeze at the top, because most people get lazy at the top of the movement and they don't get a full contraction. So you want to make sure when you get to the top, squeeze at the top, bring it back down slowly. All right, so this is the third and the final movement, standing reverse, barbell curl, to make sure we tie in all three angles in terms of your wrists, right? And we got all three different exercises in terms to help you develop your biceps. All right, so those are my top three exercises for you to get bigger biceps, especially if you're a beginner. Ladies or gentlemen, both can benefit from this program, so make sure you're sprinkling about 3 to 4 sets of each exercise into your routine for the next 6 to 12 months. You should definitely see some results. If you're not seeing some results, then you need to look at 2 things. 1, progressively overloading the weight, adding more weight as you go, or 2, you're probably not in a calorie surplus. And that's a different video for a different day. But for today, I hope you got everything you needed out of this one. Don't forget to subscribe, drop a comment, let me know what you liked, what you didn't like. See you on the other side.